is the Super Bowl.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm finally about to get started on installing this Overkill Supercharger into my 2013 Cadillac CTS with the 3.6. This, of course, as you can see, is the coupe. It is the all-wheel drive. I have the stage 1 and the stage 2 kit, so my plan is to install the stage 1 kit first, tune it, run it, and then install the stage 2 kit. So I'm debating on how I'm going to put the videos out there for you guys, whether one big video or break it up into pieces, but we'll see. You guys will see once you see the videos out there, you'll know. But if you're getting ready to start doing this, the first thing you want to do is just do the basic. You want to get out your if you have a cold air intake, remove that, or if you have the original air box, remove that. Get the engine cover off, and don't forget to remove the bumper. I think one of the first things we want to do first is drain the power steering reservoir, and we're going to remove it. So I'm just take the hose off, take the cap off, that is. Use my little pump here. Got a bucket. Stick that in the hose into the bucket. All right, so to get this reservoir off, there's two different bolts. There is, if you can see it, there is an 18mm bolt hiding up in there. Get my fingers on it. There we go. And then there's going to be, which I don't think we'll be able to see underneath, there's another one, which is a, there we go, right there. That's a 10mm bolt. So those are the two bolts you need to be able to take this off. And we're also going to disconnect the hose, as you can see right here, that leads down there. It's a short hose. And we also have to disconnect this hose right here from the, from here. We need to disconnect this hose. I'll get that 10mm out of there first. There we go. And now I'm going to go for that 18mm. There we go. And to play it safe, I'm just going to take my bolts and put them back in there for now. So I don't know if they'll come into play later. So I'll just put them back into those holes as placeholders. And now I'll have to get something to get that hose off of there. All right, to get the clamp off that hose, I'm going to use this little puppy here. Let me see if I can zoom you guys out a little bit. First time I'm going to have a chance to use it, so hopefully it works out. So you just put this onto the end of the clamp, both ends, and then you just close it and they'll draw it in, and they'll even lock it in place to hold it there too as well. Oh, nice. Working pretty good. The only part is always nice when the hole's been on something so long to be able to twist the hose to break that seal. And it's such a tight fit up in there, I don't have the ability to do that. But being able to just be able to get that hose clamp is a big win right there alone. And I don't have to hold it. I could just leave it like that and it keeps it locked in for me while I work on this. Here we go, got it up. Spilled a bit of oil, but I got it. Put the cap back on. I'll release this. And I'll do this hose over here too as well. All right, so a couple of things I want to point out at this point. So mine is the all-wheel drive. I'm not sure if this is going to make a difference for you guys with the rear-wheel drive, okay? So I have, this is the replacement power steering reservoir that's going to get mounted right back here. And you see the nut right there on the, for the brake fluid reservoir. You will remove that and you will put this bracket in there and then put the nut back on. And then this is where the new power steering reservoir will sit into this bracket. So the thing I wanted to point out over here, so this right here is going to be done in conjunction with your new, this is your power steering cooler right here. So you're going to be replacing your current power steering cooler with this one right here. And so when you first look in there, you'll wonder, how are you supposed to extend this hose? Well, when you take off your power steering cooler, the one that's on here now, you're going to be, this hose is going to go with it. So all of that's going to go with it. And then the hose for here is going to be, the long one is what's going to run. The short one will run, you know, right up in here. And the long one then will be able to route all the way back to your power steering reservoir. So I just wanted to kind of call that out now. So you're not confused when you're doing this and you're just wondering how is that supposed to mate up with the hose down there. All right, to get that one off, this is going to be, what is this, a 15 millimeter. So it should be like that, and then just put the bolt on. All right, so to install the new power steering cooler, we have to first remove the old power steering cooler. Let's back this up a little bit. And so we have a 15 millimeter over here that we have to remove. And then there's going to be, I don't know, can you see that bracket right there? That bracket right there? All right, on the back side of that is a 10 millimeter. So we should be able to access it by going under through here to be able to remove that 10 millimeter nut. And so those are the two things we have to do next. All right, so I took my my boxed in ratchet style wrench, and it turns out it actually is a, what is this, a 13 millimeter, and I went in from here to get onto it. So now I'm just removing it. All right, got that nut off, and now I should be able to slide that off. All right, got it past that. All right, so now, if you can see, I got two clamps on here. So I'm going to put a bucket beneath that, remove these two clamps, and then remove this hose. All right, so I'm about to disconnect the factory power steering fluid cooler. So the top hose right here is the one we already disconnected from up underneath. So I'm just going to remove this hose down here. And I have this bucket beneath it to catch any fluids that may come out. Both hoses are connected back further, so it looks like I'm going to need to disconnect both. All right, so what we're going to be doing now is taking the cooler. So I ran the lines all the way back to where they need to be at. This will go roughly there. You want to put it up as high as you can go. And then I'm going to use these right here to actually fasten it. So it really is, it's just a plastic soft rod that goes through it, through your cooler, your radiator, and then it just fastens to the back by pushing a plastic piece on top of that. So you have these in here, and you have the thing that slides on from the back, like these two pieces. So we'll take our cooler, put it up as high as you can get it, and then just gently push this on through. All right, so when you're pushing these in, you just push it all the way in. It's going to go through your condenser. So this one up front is your condenser. All right, and this one back here is your radiator. Let me just straighten that one out a little bit first. So let me see if I can get that one up a bit higher. And so it's going to go through your condenser. Now this one is your radiator. The one that we just went through is the condenser. So you just keep pushing it all the way through, and it'll come through the back side over in here. Let's see here. I may be able to see it. Can you see that? Here, let me grab it. This is it right here. So we're going to do that for both of them, and then we'll take the little disc that comes with, and we just push it on from there. So we just put it on here. Get you guys a little closer. See, there's a hole in there. Just feed it on, and then just push it on. Until it's touching up against the radiator, and then there's an excess you will cut off up right by the disc that you just slid on. So we're going to put a couple of those in, and then we'll have that mounted. And here I am on the driver's side at the front, and so this hose is completely coming off right here. But from this hose right here, the lower hose, we want to connect into this, and we have a union to be able to plug our hose into this rubber hose. So it's a metal union that we're going to put up on there. So right now I'm just removing that hose off. All right, catch that oil. And now with that one disconnected, I can remove this hose here, this whole hose assembly. So it looks like it's an 8mm that I need to take a bolt out of. All right, so this is actually 10mm, isn't it? Yeah, it's a 10. the hose out. All right, so to take this hose right here, coming from the cooler, to connect it to this hose right here, we're going to use this right here. And this should be, if you purchase yours new or used, you should have this in your kit. And you're also going to need, you know, 2 of the hose clamps too as well. All right, there's one on. I'll go get a hose clamp on. I'm going to tighten that hose clamp from the top. Now I'm going to take the hose from the cooler, put a clamp on first. And now I can go ahead and slide these 2 together. And so you know I'm reaching one of my hands from into the engine bay and the other hand going underneath. I'm 6'5", so I got long arms, so I can do this. All right, there we go. And now we'll just take our wrench and tighten up that hose. All right, so now we got it all connected up down on this end. Now we want to go on top. And remember we connected up the bracket down here earlier for the power steering reservoir. Now we have the hose sitting back here. Just ran back here all the way through there, and now it's sticking out here. And then we're going to take this hose, which if you remember, it needs to go and connect here, right here, all right, and go to the reservoir. All right, so I'm putting the power steering hose on down there now. I have the that clamp removing tool holding the clamp already on there, so when I get it on, I can just release it. Just feeding it down by hand. And this is the tool to hold the hose clamp open in the open position while I'm getting it on there. Put a bit of oil inside the holes so it slides on a little easier. All right, looks like it's all the way on down there. So now I can take the hose clamp and slide it down in there. Flat here to help push it down. Go. That's about where I want her. Now I can release the clamp holding tool. There we go. I highly recommend getting that tool. We can take this hose and we can route it back to the where we want the reservoir to be at, and I think we can trim off a little bit. This is about 3 feet of hose, so I'm sure I can trim it down a little bit. put a little oil on there to help make it a little easier to slide on. All right, one hose on, tighten it down. Now we have the second hose. Now what you want to make sure to do, you don't want any of these hoses to be pinched off like that where it goes on an angle where it's restricting the flow of fluid. So just be careful of that when you're doing that. You want to have enough hose on there to be able to take this out if need to and undo the clips without too much struggle, but you don't want to have so much that you get bends in areas. So I'm probably going to trim off roughly about that much. All right. Don't like that. I seem to be restricting it off a bit. I may need to rerun this one a little higher over here. So I'm gonna take this one back off. I'm just gonna reroute it over by the oil filter higher up along the top of the engine bay, over all the hoses. That's where it's more of a straight shot to the to this right here. way I think it'll sit more like that, which would be fine. That means I can should be able to do it like that. Yep, I like that a lot better. Yep, I think that's a lot cleaner. All right, here we go. All right, I think that looks pretty good. As you can see, I ran the hose up over in this area here now, so it's up higher than the oil filter housing. Before, it was creating bends that I just didn't like. This allows for it to go right into the power steering reservoir without any bends. All right, so now we're at the point where we're going to want to mount the pulley onto the front of the existing crank pulley. So before we do that, because all of the supercharger is going to be mounted in front, if you need to end up changing your serpentine belt, you got to pull all that stuff out of here in order to get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my serpentine belt now and do it at this point so that I don't have to worry about that. And it's always a good idea to map out the path of your belt so you won't forget. So just to draw it all out on here, how it should go. So when you take the old one off, you don't forget how to put the new one on. All right, so replacing your serpentine belt is pretty straightforward in case you haven't done it before. So you have a hole in your tensioner. This is your tensioner right here. You see that right there? That hole right there is a square, really, it's not a hole. That square is gonna be the same size as your ratchet, all right? So you're just gonna take your ratchet and put it up in there. And once you have it in there, you can just use that to release the tension. So, all right, so once you get your 1/2-inch drive ratchet into the square, to your tensioner, then this point, I just put it about that level, and then you just apply and you just want to adjust it and get it to the right spot because you want to push down on this. There we go. We'll apply it down. See that downward pressure? And I'm not sure if you can tell, but now the slack is off of there. Let me show you that hose. You see that slack? Now at this point, with the slack off, you can remove the hose. So you just hold it down while you take the hose off. And of course, I can't hold the camera and do that at the same time. Let's see how long that lasts. And once you get one loop off, you can release the pressure then. Take your belt on off. And let me show you something. It's a good thing I've changed it now as well. Look at that. I was ready to go on me. Look at that. You see that? Split. So now we'll take our new one, and we're going to route it the same way. Remember, you should have mapped out how your hose went. And you can put it most of the way on up until the point where you're going to need to release that tensioner a bit to put it on the last pulley. A new belt is always more difficult to work with because it's trying to retain the shape that it was in the package. All right, now I have it all the way to the final point. Now I'm gonna put my tensioner belt, my ratchet back on that tensioner and put it onto the last pulley. So the Serpentine belt I ordered off of Amazon was too big. They sent me the wrong one, or had it labeled wrong. So I had to run around to the local parts store and pick up another one. Overpaid. 47 bucks for a Serpentine belt is outrageous. But I had to do it. Now we want to remove the bolt from the main crank pulley. And that will give us the ability to mount this pulley on top of it. And so I'm going to use my impact with a 3/4 inch socket, and I'm not going to reuse the old one. I purchased a new one straight from the dealer. I think I paid like $5 for this or something like that. So I already have my new one, and so we're going to remove the other one. So hopefully this thing is powerful enough. I have another impact that's probably more powerful, but I don't know if I have enough room in there for it. I don't even have enough room for this one. This one is even too big. I think I may remove the, I think what I would do, I'm going to remove the radiator fan so that I can have that additional room. All right, so I have the radiator out, and I'm gonna use this opportunity now to go ahead and snip these on off. This is the back side from where we put. All right, let's see if we can get that that bolt out now. So now I have enough room. It's about whether or not this is powerful enough. That wasn't bad at all. Get that out. All right, so there's the old bolt. There's the new bolt. So it looks like they gave me the right one, which is good. All right. So now we should be able to take this here, and the back side of this should fit right over on there. Let me see if there's anything special. Nope, nothing special. There we go. So now I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on here, and then we'll take the impact and get it on in there. Get my Loctite. Put it on the threads. All right. Put it back in. I think I may need a extension on here in order to get my sure. Let's see if this will fit all the way in there or not. Let me put it in the right direction. I think I will need a little bit of an extension. Let me get one. All right, so I'll use this little 2-incher. Give me just a little extra room to get down in there deep. Increase the speed on my impact. That was not doing it. All right, there we go. Pulley on. So it was definitely much more beneficial to remove the fan out of here. So now you got plenty of room to do what you need to do. All right, so I'm getting ready to mount the supercharger itself. And I had ordered a new plate with a new tensioner on there, mainly because I wanted a new tensioner. This is the upgraded tensioner. And there was a bad hole on here as well, over on this side. And so I need to remove the pulley, and then I can take off this plate and put on the new plate. So after taking the bolt out, the pulley doesn't just slide off, unfortunately. So I have a puller here to help me out. It's an old style one, so it's not very quick and efficient. But as long as it does the job, I'll be happy. Oh, there we go. All right. And don't forget, you have to put the key back in that goes into this slot. All right, so you need to start installing the brackets to be able to mount the supercharger. And one of the things is right back here. So you see your oil filter housing right there, right? So come right up in front here to the front of the engine. This was the big bolt you took off in order to get the reservoir for the power steering pump off. Remember this bolt and this bolt right here. So this has helped you to understand where you need to be at. So right behind this bolt over here, this bolt is going into here. We need to remove this bolt in order to mount this bracket right here, all right? So I think it's gonna be mounted something like that or something. We'll figure it out once we get that bolt out, but we need to take that bolt out, and it comes with a slightly longer supply bolt that will go in place of that bolt, okay? So, and that's gonna be a 15 millimeter. Now heads up, now you see how I already put the power steering hose on, right? Right here. So now it's right there making it more difficult for this. So when you're doing it, you may think about that like, okay, let me hold off on putting this bolt on, this hose on until after I've taken care of that bracket right there. All right, so this is the bolt I took out. This is the supply bolt that we're going to be installing. So what I'm going to do is take a bit of Loctite, put that on there, not much, just enough to make sure it doesn't back out of there. And so then at this point, we're going to take this bracket here, and that bracket should mount to it like that. You see where that part is sticking up towards the sky? So it's going to go on there like that. See that? Just like that. And we won't tighten it all the way down because I'm sure it's going to need to be adjusted on the right angle. All right. All right, now that we have this bracket right here installed, not tightened down, just hand tightened. Now we need, now we need this bracket, these two bolts right here. That bolt, I believe they just call that the temporary bolt. This spacer, this is the shortest of the spacers that you'll have. And these two flathead screw bolts right here. All right, so the way this is going to work out, we're going to need this bracket to go like, I believe it's like, no. It's going to be like that right there, I think, on there. Let's see here. No, like that. It's going to be like that on the bracket. So the bracket will be behind these two bolts, the one that you just mounted. That's going to be right behind there. So this is the front side. So this should be pointing away from the engine, all right? And now you're going to take those two bolts and pre-install them in here, like that. And you don't have to do it in this order, but this is for demonstration purposes. Now, the spacer is going to go here. Down here, this last hole at the end on the back side. And then this temporary bolt will go to hold that in. So it'll be like that, drop it in. And now we're going to be able to take this and screw this bolt into there. And then those last two flathead bolts we'll use for right here. And the reason you put these two long bolts in first is because they're going to be against this wall over here, and you won't be able to put them in after the fact. So you have to put them in now. And the reason I think they call this a temporary bolt is because you're going to take it out later. It's now just to be able to hold that spacer into that place. me get a little bit of Loctite on my bolts first. It's a bit more than a little bit overkill. Oops, I see it. All right, so now that I have these two in, the bracket behind it is now aligned. So now I'm going to take my 15 millimeter and get back there and try to tighten that bolt all the way down now. It's going to be very difficult. All right, now that we have these bolts in there, you're going to take these spacers, as you can see they're the same, you're going to slide them over here. All right, so now we're ready to mount the supercharger. We're going to have to take this bolt out. This was a temporary one. I haven't taken it out yet because I'm not sure if normally this spacer would be tight where it wouldn't fall down when you take it out, but it's definitely going to come down. So I'm going to take it on out, and I'll just have to slide it back in by hand when I'm ready to put the Pro Charger on. And I already put some Loctite on. This is the big bolt, flat head. This one is one that's going to go into this spot right here. All right. And when we're putting it in here, we need to make sure it's behind this right here, the AC line. It goes behind the AC line, okay? Forgot to take the bolt out. So I'll just hold on to this spacer for now. here. All right, so far so good. Bring it over so you guys can have a better look to see. So it's in here. As you can see, it's just sitting down there. Got these here. It's ready for the big bolt to go in right here, to go through there. And I need one more spacer. This spacer, which is longer than that spacer. Now that spacer will go, the shorter one will go between here, and this one will go between here. All right. For the best way to manage this. So I'm going to need this to come in through here with this spacer. Let me see if maybe first I can get these lined up. Let me put a little Loctite on those first. Hello. All right, so next we're going to take the long bolt and the longer of the two spacers. We're going to start to feed the long bolt through. I'm going to get the spacer up in there. I'll back these bolts off a little bit. Get a little wiggle room. There we go, perfect. And now that we're all up to this point, now we can get the shorter of the spacers and hold it up in there. There we go. Finally. All right, so now we're going to use the number 8 Allens. All right, so now we're going to install the throttle body spacer. So to do that, we're going to need to remove the throttle body. This is the spacer over here. We have longer bolts. We have a gasket, and this is the spacer. And you see that hole on that side? That needs to be pointing towards the passenger side, all right? So, passenger side. These are 4 10mm bolts. And I'm going to go ahead and unplug the throttle body now. Push that red tab out, then you're able to push down, and then just unplug it. One bolt. hold on to the spacer, onto the throttle body. You don't want it to drop to the ground. All right, so there we go. So here's your throttle body, right? And here are your bolts. Those are roughly the same length. They're not really longer. Yeah, I guess they are a little bit longer. Not much, but a little bit longer. Anyway, your throttle body spacer, let me lift this up a little bit. We'll go against here. You see, there's a gasket already on here. So the spacer will go against here. And then this gasket will go along here. All right. Oops. You want the blue part pointing outward. Like that. Then we'll take this and put it like that. Take our bolt and run through there like that. And just to be safe, let's put a little bit of Loctite on there. All right, now we're going to start to try to fit in the intercooler. Let's see. Since it's just me, I think the jack may give me some advantage. All right, put that there. Jack in a little further. And we're going to use the 2 L brackets that came with it. And we're going to need to do some drilling, just so you know that. All right, so we'll need to mark where we need these, where everything will line up at, and then we'll mark the holes. We'll drill it, and then tap it so we can screw in some screws. All right, I think that's it for today. So tomorrow I'll start working on the tubing. And this is going to be a lot of work right here. This is going to be more work than anything, figuring out how the tubes need to go together. This is the all-wheel drive that I am working on. The wheel drive setup for the tubing is slightly different. So just so you guys are aware of that. But I know this part over here should be for the passenger side, some of it. The blowout valve, this particular hose right here definitely all go on the passenger side. For the mass air flow sensor up top there in silver, that should be on the passenger side as well. And they feed right into the intake manifold through the throttle body. And then I also got to figure out how the driver's side works as well. So that's going to be our plan for tomorrow. That's all for today. So that'll be the end of part 1, and look forward to part 2 tomorrow if it don't rain. Hey, so if you guys hit the like button, or at least like so far, hit the like button. And definitely hit that subscribe button so you can check out part 2 of this video and all the other videos I have out there working on my Cadillac CTS coupe. Thanks for joining.
Man, this shit done it big as the what? Big as the what? Big as the Super Bowl.